Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe, with my slowly but surely ongoing Italy's Holocaust, looking at the films from 1979 to 1994. And here at episode 14, I thought I would take a familiar stop in the road with perhaps one of the great Lucio Fulci films. Of course, the tail end of what we know as the Gates of Hell trilogy. Maybe better said as the Fulci's Lovecraft trilogy. I've heard it put before, and that might be actually a little bit more true in terms of the continuity that does exist. Although be a blurred between the three films. And of course, its leading star, Catriona MacColl, who here we find is Lucy Boyle, the Boyle family, of course. Previously, she also brings continuity to these three films. In Beyond, of course, she's Liza, and in City, she is Mary. And which makes her character here in House interesting, because it's almost as if that her character, Lucy, is psychologically dealing with, I don't know, it's almost like her character is the byproduct of these previous two films that work on her ability to mentally navigate. It's like she's starting to just crumble, and we're never really given reason why exactly. But if you really sort of read deep in, it is interesting. It's almost kind of like she's starting to remember, and I'm speaking as though we're all familiar with this movie. And if you're not, God help you. But anyways, Blue Underground put out an absolutely incredible 3-disc set of this, which includes includes a great little book with a little article by Michael Gringold, I think, inside. And then, of course, how beautiful is this, right? I mean, look at that. You got the score in there, disc 2 in there with all the supplementals, and of course, disc 1 is in there. And that is, of course, the original artwork, which I absolutely love and adore. And I'm just going to say this. Fulci's Gates of Hell trilogy, call it his Lovecraft trilogy. I think it's the greatest horror trilogy of all time and will never be surpassed, probably because he is a rare individual who is able to get my favorite fictional writer of all time, H.P. Lovecraft, and he was able to tap into things like the evil clergyman. You're just thinking about City of the Living Dead, Charles Dexter Ward here in House, a little bit, right? The picture in the house, the Reanimator, thinking the Shun House, even really sort of. What was the other one? The Dunwhich Horror, of course, right? The Shun House. There's a lot of. It's just like, during the Lord of the Rings initial first trilogy, you just could picture Peter Jackson walking around with the books in hand, because he knew those things inside and out, right? Here you can see Fulci just kind of walking around with his stack of H.P. Lovecraft stories, man, that he is just soaked up, man. And he, to a great degree, is unleashing what few rarely have ever done, and that is this sort of, this is Lovecraft, man. This is Lovecraft to such an interesting, great degree. But you have this family here in House by the Cemetery. Now, I have to say this too. The whole reason I started this whole series, partly I was inspired by Jim Harper's book, Italian Horror. But as a kid, we had a movie store that I would go into, and Movie World. And I was confused with Movie Stop. That's much later on in life. Movie World. And they had this like horror castle in the back, and they had their own Italian section. And I started bringing movies like this on VHS, which I'm pretty sure Vestron was the first to ever release this film on VHS. And but you brought these things home, man, and you were just blown away by different things, man. This was so Italian film in the early 80s was so different than anything that you were seeing, man. Whether it was hearing a radio spot for the Gates of Hell that was traveling the drive-in circuit. You heard those radio spots on the radio, and it just lit up your imagination. And then you actually got to see some of these on video cassette, like Suspira, which I remember came out on Letterboxd form. Watching it on my 25-inch console TV in all of its glory, right? Laying on the living room floor with the lights off. Wondering, what on earth am I watching here? But I love it. This is so great. House is the great finale of the Gates of Hell trilogy. And you have the Boyle family, who he is an academic. And he gets commissioned to pick up where his colleague left off. Apparently his colleague and his family were living in this house in New England. And suddenly, apparently his colleague goes mad, kills his family, commits suicide. And so now he is, Norman he needs to kind of pick up where the trail left off and figure out what the heck, what happened. But now he'll move his family from an apartment in New York to this house. And I got to really be careful here, because this is better suited to a podcast. I mean, I'll just ramble on and on and on. But basically, they're going to move out there to continue his investigation, not only to his colleague's demise, but the house itself. It will just get deeper and deeper and deeper, and he'll realize that there is this character named Dr. Freudstein, but the boy, Bob, and I know the dubbing. You know, that's just something you got to set aside and deal with. I mean, look, if you're going to let something like that ruin such an absolutely fantastic film as this, then you got other issues to work on or something. I don't know. I get it. The dubbing is absolutely horrific. You get this adult trying to do a pre-puberty child boy, and it just doesn't work, right? But I don't know why, but it's never bothered me. Not like other people, where they just constantly got to go after it all the time. This movie, man. So they're going to go out there. He's going to kind of pick up things. You even get Lucio Fulci, the master himself, as Professor Mueller, and a cameo with Norman Boyle. And a nice little dialogue. He will just investigate. Now, the boy, though, Bob, he picks up real quick when May, a little girl, who is the daughter of Dr. Freudstein, and of course her mother will make apparitional appearances here and there. The girl is trying to warn Bob, stay away from this house. But as the part of the foundational understanding of this movie, parents never listen to their children, and this really is told from a child's perspective. And this is really Bob's movie. This is seen through him. He is the child at the center of all of this, which is so unfortunate about the dubbing, because it takes away so much. Now you think about films like The Shining, Turn of the Screw, the Henry James novel. You think about The Amityville Horror. You think about some of these, and The Shining might find itself more pronounced. Here, you really think of The Shining, but really, you are on a highway. You are on Fulci's highway, and these other films really are just exit signs along the way. This is its own thing, man. This really is its own sort of Lovecraftian-made creature that might, on occasion, as you're driving down the highway, point to an exit sign and go, hey, you remember that? You remember that scene from The Shining? You remember this from The Amityville Horror? You remember this from Henry James? You remember these little things? But really, you are on a Lovecraftian, Fulci-designed highway to hell. I mean, and it's its own thing. It's its own vehicle that pays some pretty interesting, subtle, maybe not so subtle tributes to some of these other things, but it does so, I think, in some really interesting ways. And so, you know, Mom, who is already psychologically damaged from something I don't think we really understand or know why, her and her son are put in jeopardy right from the start when they're put in this house. Of course, Dad's not around that much because he's doing all this academic prep work. And so that allows, you know, just the fragmentation. You have this other character, Anne, who is the mysterious babysitter that just shows up, like the Martha character from The Beyond. She just shows up and, oh, hey, I'm here to babysit your boy. Okay, who called you? Not sure. She is Anne, the lady who plays Anne, is in Dario Argento's Inferno. She is the mysterious music teacher, maybe one of the three mothers, which is interesting because, you know, you got those eyes, the Italian cinema's about those eyes, and she is, man. And you know, you just so much working here, and under the surface and deep down is Norman, Is he manipulating this whole entire thing? Is he deliberately putting his wife on a pathway of drugs to heighten her sense of paranoia and allow her self-crumbling to continue to, because he's having an affair with Anne, maybe? You've got this whole sense of, you've been here before. He's told you and we've seen you and your boy, or you and a girl, woman, here before, and that sort of works into the Shining stuff, right? And so there's just so many things. It's almost like, and of course they've got this picture in their apartment of the house that they're going to go to, which nobody really seems to make any connections to outside of Bob, who is being directed by May, apparitionally, who we see is, you know, in a window of the house, looking out the window with this just incredible sort of hand up, you know, like, you know, kind of thing. And we get the scene where Mom comes up, well, Mary Freudstein says to her, what are you doing? What are you doing at the window? What are you looking at? And May's like, I'm looking at the house. And she's like, come on away from there. You can't see the house from there. They're in the house. And that just shows you just how deep this freaking movie is. It is unbelievably deep and just so much working on it. Yes, it's disjointed. Yes, it's got a good touch of the city disjointed feel, the nightmare logic, you know, and beyond. But it's the most linear of the three, and it's sort of taking you towards the end. But it's really an end, not so much different than the Beyond, right? You know, where you get the tragic story is because of these two parents who are not, mainly Norman, who is not listening to the boy, who is this scientific rationale. Look, everything can be explained. Well, no, Fulci's whole point, part of his point here, is not everything can be explained. I mean, think about Dr. Freudstein's name. Freud, Frankenstein. It's like this creature that lives from the turn of the century, this mad scientist who killed his daughter, killed his wife in order to enhance his ability to live forever. And this is sort of like the eternal hell trap of anyone who gets sucked into this house will fall prey and victim to Dr. Freudstein, who just wants to live. But he is like the bastard child of both the world of psychology and the world of science. And what does Fulci try to tell us in the end? If we allow these two forces to be our guides, humanity is going to go off a freaking cliff. The family structure is going to go off everything is just freaking doomed. And what is Norman? He's an academic, right? He is an academic. And so academia allows itself to be sucked in by these two forces, what's going to happen to us in the end? And so there's a lot of weird, deep, how, it's sort of like Anne, the babysitter, is like Martha. It's like, you don't know how much of a part they're really playing here, but ultimately they have their own fates, right? Ultimately, you have this so cosmic sort of, horror that is about to be unleashed, that is trying to constantly push itself into our world. Although Freudstein is at least a little bit more of the grounded than what you get in the Beyond and what you get in the Gates of Hell, it is still interesting nonetheless. And what can we say about Lucio Fulci? His 2 to 3 year stint, beginning with 79 and Zombie. Of course, you can go way back, right? But really, Zombie, by the time you get to the house by the cemetery, and even, let's follow it up with the New York Ripper, but everything between, the Black Cat. Dude, what he was able to accomplish in such a short period of time, and we're still talking about today, and it's 2023, is nothing short of absolutely amazing. But he's not going to do this if it's not for the brilliant writing work of Sacchetti and his wife, Briganti. You've got, of course, Savati, the cinematographer, and his work, De Rossi on the makeup, special effects. Of course, you've got Tomasi editing. You get the beautiful work of Frizzi, but not here. This is Rosati. And his score, man, throughout this entire movie is unreal, man. It's a gothic piece. And that's the thing, too. I looked up the word gothic in Webster's 1828. And you get some like key words like rude, barbaric, ancient, and really at the core of Fulci's Gates of Hell trilogy is this notion of gothic in that sense. I think it is very rude. It is very barbaric. It takes you to a place that we rarely ever get to go to, and that's why it's so much fun to revisit these things constantly, even at the behest of bad, absolutely terrible dubbing. The scene when Bob is up at the top of the stairs and his mom and him are trying to get out, and Freudstein grabs her and she starts yanking her down the stairs, man. That has got to be one of the most amazing scenes I've ever seen in any movie, because the tension, the horror, the terror, everything is there. I mean, in that flash of a moment, you're just like, God, this is all going to end so horribly, right? And of course, May is there to pick Bob up through the broken cemetery, or the broken tombstone, of course, that is in their living room. How much can you say, right? But Bob, what is Bob's final end in this? It is somewhat like the Beyond. It is an eternal, although probably better than the Beyond. He is to join May and her mother Mary in an existence on another plane. But that family unit is being brought back together. Unfortunately, they're on an ever-ending loop of never being able to escape this house. They're always part of this house, and yet kept safe from this house. It was just weird. It's almost kind of like a purgatorial type place to be. You're not really in hell, but you're not in heaven. You're in this weird purgatorial state. It's weird because I'm sure Mary and I'm sure May, they didn't deserve their end. However, it came, and it wasn't nice. I can guarantee that. So I don't know what else to say here. It's just after 15. Probably should just go ahead and wrap it up. But it goes without saying, man. Lucio Fulci, one of the great horror meisters of any time in history. Rarely has anyone tapped into Lovecraft. Rarely has anyone ever produced. Like, you can't even put the Three Mothers trilogy next to the Gates of Hell trilogy. Mainly, I think, because the Mother of Tears just doesn't, it's not, to that trilogy, it's not what House is to this. And so it falls short. Suspire is a masterpiece. Inferno's insane. And if there's a recommendation, I know this is, and of course, if you didn't know, obviously you know, right? Beyond, Grindhouse put out an incredible, City of the Living Dead, Arrow put out an incredible, which there is a new release of City of the Living Dead coming down the pike, a 4K, that, the name of the company eludes me now, but Diabolic, at least had it up on their site. It might be out of print, or not out of print, but not for sale anymore until the standard version comes out. I wish I could, but Jason, our Tuesday reviewer, he always does these recommendations, and I'm going to do it today. We are still here. This is one of the greatest love letters to Fulci, specifically the Gates of Hell trilogy. If you've never seen this movie, you really ought to. If you love Fulci, if you love this trilogy, you really need to see this movie. This movie is freaking awesome. Just awesome. I think this is going to wrap it up. Lucio Fulci's Gates of Hell trilogy, the last film. Once I get that new 4K release of City of the Living Dead, I'll tap this thing out with, that is, to me, City of the Living Dead is the greatest that is my #1 horror film of all time, hands down. And so I look forward to finally getting a chance to talk about that. But I want to wait till I get the new release, because it's like 4 discs or something. I mean, it's just crazy, the commentaries and everything else in there. It's going to be fun to dip into that. So, yeah, I think I've said everything I want to say in this 1750. Hope you've enjoyed. Hope you continue on. I don't know what I'm going to do next. I really got to give it some thought, maybe later today or something. I have no idea right this second. Just glad to get this one going and out there to drop on that Wednesday for you. As always, man, appreciate it to the max. And yeah, go Bills.
This is not a dream.